Bonjour and hello everyone. Welcome to Queer French Farmhouse, the podcast about being queer as an expat living in France and renovating a house, or in my case, half a chateau. So this week's topic is role models and their importance, and how role models actually affect our lives, and how it affected my life actually to have and not have role models as well, because I think growing up as a queer kid, it's different than to growing up as I don't want to use the term normal, but like heterosexual kid, because you look up to different people. So, and this brings me to my very own story of having or actually not having a role model, because I grew up in the 90s basically. I was born in the 80s. Most of my childhood happened in the 90s. My teens happened in the early 2000s. So I am 36 years now. Sometimes I forget how old I am. So yeah, I'm 36. And so back then in Germany, there weren't many people out there, especially people that I could relate to. There was the odd kind of queer character that everybody was sort of making fun of, but it wasn't a single person that you could actually relate to and be like, oh, this person is queer as well. This person is saying that all of this is so normal and that what I'm going through is actually nothing, because it is just my rite of passage, as I would call it, maybe. Just like every kid growing up, It's I remember yesterday I was sitting in the car and we were actually, my boyfriend and me, we dropped off his friend in Angoulême, which is the city that has the TGV station. So you can go from there, basically all the high-speed trains leave to Paris and to Bordeaux. So, and she was going back to the Netherlands, and so we dropped her off at the station, and eventually we were going back. We did all our chores in Angoulême, because when you're in the big city, when you're living on the countryside, you actually want to make most of the big city and get all the stuff that you can't get here. So we bought lots of tofu, but that's a topic for a different show. So we were on the way back, and I really wanted to play him a song that actually was somehow important in my early years as a child. There was this singer, she was called Basia, and she's a Polish woman, I think, who immigrated into the States, and my aunt, who lives in the States, absolutely adored her. I mean, that's what I think she did. I don't know, maybe I'm also telling something wrong. Maybe she will comment down below. Tell me oh, Amadeus, stop talking all this nonsense about me. But yeah. So, and there was this music. It was a very 80s music. I think her first album came out in my birth year, 87. So it's very kind of late 80s, early 90s kind of music, not being techno-y or stuff, very 80s actually, more than the 90s. So and there was this one cover of one of her albums, which is Sweetest Illusion, and you can Google it actually, Basia, so Basia, Sweetest Illusion album, and you'll find the cover art for that album, and it's just her being rendered into a painting, and she's wearing this huge white dress, and she has this really long black hair, and looking over her shoulder, she looks so gorgeous. So that's what I imagined myself to be. It's as a kid growing up, I was oh my god, I just want to be like this, and I just want to look as fabulous as her. And somehow, I guess that was already a sign of that I'm different. I'm not other kids. So I was yearning to be that woman of a CD cover looking over her shoulder in her long black hair and like her huge white, and I think the top is also black dress. I don't know. Let me take a quick sip of coffee. While I sip on my coffee, I have two things that I want to talk to you about or tell you about. One is my B&B business that I'm starting here in the 14th of August in France. So you can book your stay with me if you go to Demi-Château.com, and I will leave the link in the show notes. And it's a queer-friendly, beautiful part of Charente, I would say. I mean, I don't know if the whole part of Charente is queer-friendly, but my place is. And on the other hand, I wanted to recommend you my YouTube channel. You can also find it on Le Demi-Château if you enter Le Demi-Château on YouTube. And it's a channel in German about DIYs and my life in France. And now I'll let you keep on listening to this podcast. So she was like kind of and I wouldn't even say she was a role model because she did nothing. I mean, she's not queer. She's not like, you know, it's like, I think it was the point, like this kind of point of revelation for yourself as well, when you actually like understand like, oh, I think I'm different than the other kids. So, and then I was always like hoping to interpret something, or I was interpreting a lot. Like I was trying to be like, oh, this star must be like something like me, or this like celebrity probably is gay or bi or lesbian or whatever. And then like I think it was like around that time when Ally McBeal was big in the States, and I was like really addicted to it as a teen. And I think that was like my like late teenage years, or like not really like mid teenage years, it must have been. And Portia de Rossi, so Ellen DeGeneres' wife, was cast in that. And that's when all of this came about, and everybody was like, oh, Ellen DeGeneres is dating Portia de Rossi, and it was like a huge thing back then. Like, I remember, at least it was like this in Germany. Maybe also because I was more related to that kind of queer kind of news, so maybe it also didn't make it to like any kind of like heterosexual platform, whatever. So that was like the first like queer character for me that I kind of remember, who was like, oh, she's this really, really cool woman, and she came out, and she's out there, and she's doing her thing, she can do her jobs and everything. And like, yeah, I think then in ballet it started more and more I started more and more when I started ballet to see like, oh, there's so many guys who are actually like, and it's a misconception also, I will have to say, that everybody who dances, or there's like a huge ratio of gay people in dance, because I would say it isn't like a huge ratio. It is a bit more maybe, but still I wouldn't say, like, I've worked in a company in Poland where out of 40 people I was the only like out person, but I'm not sure. Maybe also like I wasn't the only queer person, but in the end I was just like, yeah, I was the only one. So I think it's like going all the way back to childhood and like having like those people in front of you. I think it's really important to have like somebody to look up to, because if you don't, it's like you're kind of swimming, or you can't relate to someone else's story. And that's also one of the reasons why I'm like doing this podcast, and why I really want to give this so much importance, because I think for young people who are queer, it's really important to have like a diverse kind of spectrum of queer people who are out there, who are doing their thing, who are not hiding, you know. It's like, I'm not hiding that I'm queer. I'm living in a small village in the French countryside. I walk hand in hand with my boyfriend. I kiss my boyfriend on the street. It's like, I don't care. It's like, you better accept me. And I want to also set an example for other queer people, and especially like younger queer people, to be like, it's okay. It's okay to be you, and the world accepts so many other things. It's like, it's just like pure ridiculous what's happening sometimes. Just because we don't fit in somebody's way of life, it doesn't mean, like, I'm not forcing anyone to be queer. It's like so silly, but I think it's always the fear of like losing your masculinity, the fear of losing your rights, which is like totally, like, all of this is very irrational, but I do think that it's really important that we're out there. And I think also like that people who do handy stuff are also like, I still see there's like not many people, not many queer people in the handy world, like I talked in my last episode, and I think, or openly queer. And I also think that women are also not like well represented in that area. It's like people who actually do a lot. Like, I follow this one girl, and I'm giving a huge shout out to her, because I adore the stuff she's doing. Like, really, I follow her. I've been following her for over a year now, I think, on her YouTube channel, and she's now also launched a podcast. So if you're interested in like crafting DIY kind of podcasts, and also like, it's not really crafting, it's like DIY. She renovated a house in Texas on her own. Like, yeah, she had some contractors to do some stuff, but she did a lot of work on her own, and she's just so talented and so passionate, and she's just rocking this whole world. And she actually just did an episode, I think with her mom, where she talks about like all these things of this less represented like women in this area, in this field. And her name is McKenna, and you can find her on YouTube with at XO McKenna. She has a vlog, and then she also has like her DIY channel. And I will try to give you the link for her podcast also, with my own two hands, it's called, in my show notes. So yeah, it's just like really like, go you, like, really, she's amazing. And I do think it's people like this who we need to be out there to do the things they do, to actually inspire other people, and to give them hope, to give them like, yeah, to show them the way that there's so many different ways of living your life, and all of them are valid as long as you're not hurting anyone. And I do believe that this is like really important. And coming back to the role models, like, I see how it is these days much easier for kids. And I mean, I'm not saying this because I envy kids these days. It's like, not at all. It's like, I am so happy that there's so many out queer people, and we come in all shapes and sizes and all kind of manners, and this is so beautiful. I wish I had this when I was growing up, like all these people who are like there, who are positive about like their bodies, about their sexuality, about what they think, who they love. It's just like, it just warms my heart so much to see how there is like, and I had this one thing where I was just like, and it happened at Pride in La Rochelle this year. So my boyfriend's best friend, they actually are with a trans man. He is a tattoo artist, and he's just doing so freaking much for the trans community in La Rochelle. It's just unbelievable. Just like no words. Like, really, so many kids that he just like, basically, he's such a huge role model for so many trans kids, and it's just like, it's just amazing to see all, like, how he supports them and how he's there for them. And it's just like, wow, I was really, really impressed. And I was just like, not impressed is maybe the wrong word, but I was really touched by how much work a person does to actually like give something back to the community and give something back to their community. It was just like so heartwarming. And there was this one moment when we all were standing before the parade started moving, when we were talking, and we were with some other queer kids that he has like this little group of trans and queer kids, and who also do like, I think, weekly meetups or monthly. We were all standing there and talking, and then this one kid shows up. It was just like crazy. I think like he was such a big inspiration and such a big idol for this kid that this kid almost fainted when he saw him. It was just like, oh my god. It was unbelievably cute, but also it touched me so much, because I thought like, oh my god, this like, he made such a difference in this kid's life, and this kid might carry on like not doubting himself, not being afraid of the world, not thinking they're wrong, thinking they're not part of society. And I think that's like the best thing that we can give back to our queer community, to say we're all out there and we've all been through all of this. And I think that absolutely important, and I keep on repeating myself, but it absolutely is. So I actually wanted to give you some numbers and some studies on that, and on like the visibility of queer people. I found one thing, and I'm just going to read it out to you because I find like this pretty much sums it up. One notable study is the General Social Survey conducted in the United States. The GSS has included questions on sexual orientation since 1988, allowing for long-term comparisons. According to the GSS data, the percentage of individuals identifying as gay, lesbian, or bisexual has shown a gradual increase over the years. For example, in 1988, around 2.8% of men and 1.4% of women identified as gay or bisexual. By 2018, these figures had increased to 4.9% for men and 7.7% for women. It's important to note that these figures reflect self-identification and may not capture the full diversity of queer experiences. Similar trends have been observed in other studies and surveys conducted in different countries, although specific figures may vary. Increased visibility, changing social attitudes, and greater acceptance and understanding of diverse sexual orientations have likely contributed to more individuals feeling comfortable identifying as queer or coming out. It is worth noting that studying sexual orientation and self-identification can be complex due to the factors such as social stigma, privacy concerns, and cultural differences. Therefore, the numbers from these studies should be interpreted with caution, and the actual prevalence of queer individuals may be higher than what is captured in the data. So you see, it's quite like the complex topic, and it's just a lot of information that goes in there, and it's like it does show you that there's more people out there and more people like socially out there, and they're there and being role models for other people. And I think social media also like has done a lot for that. In conclusion, I would say it's unbelievably important to have someone to look up to have a role model, to have someone you can identify with, so that you kind of like, you can relate, you can kind of hold on to this thought of this person sorry. It's just the idea of that this person probably went through the same stuff that you're going through now. and is there, and maybe you can even get in touch with them. It doesn't need to be like somebody like super celebrity, you know. It's like it can be someone that you know, somebody who's just like a friend, a neighbor, whatever, you know. It's like, but since visibility has been improved and there's much more people out there like us now, like visibly out there, I think it's gotten so much better. And I think it's really important. So if you have a queer kid, it's like really think about it and give it some thought and support them in every single way you can. And I will close this podcast for this week like that. And I'll just say I will leave you to it. Have a wonderful time wherever you are. Don't forget to subscribe to my podcast. You can find me on Instagram, on Le Demi-Château, and you can also now book stays with me. So if you go on my website, Demi-Château.com, which is LEDEMICHATEAU.com. I hope I spelled that right. And I'll also leave a link in the show notes, and then you can book your stay with me. For now, I have 2 guest rooms that you can book. There will be a 3rd one popping up very soon. And you will also see that I'm providing some retreats. So if you want to come for a retreat, then I'll also be happy to host you. And also, if you have ideas for retreats that you want to give yourself, I'm very pleased to have you here and host your very own retreat with me. Thank you very much for listening. And I'm saying bisous and see you next week from the beautiful Charente in France. Bye bye.